Welcome to our guided meditation for self-criticism. Take a moment to sit comfortably with good posture and close your eyes. We shall begin with a little bit of mindful breathing just to calm and clear the mind. Breathe in through your nose to a count of 4. And now pause for 4. Breathe out through your mouth for 4. Pause for 4. And repeat. We are simply observing the breath moving through the body. And let us take a moment to remind ourselves that for the next short little while, the only thing that we will be doing is sitting, breathing, and meditating. And for this short period of time, nothing else matters. Continuing to observe the breath moving in through the nose and out through the mouth. Remembering it is normal from time to time for the mind to wander. It is normal to experience some thoughts and feelings. All we must do is, when we need to, calmly direct the mind back to the breath. And let us take just a couple more breaths before we move into our meditation for self-criticism. And one more breath. And now let us begin. Bring to mind one mistake in your life that you have made that makes you feel a little bit self-critical. This is important because we want to transform our self-criticism into self-compassion. And to do that, we must first access that critical part of our minds. And so, bring to mind one mistake that you have made in your life. Allow yourself to visualize making this mistake. Now notice, when you remember this mistake, you might, quite likely, start thinking some self-critical thoughts. For instance, common self-critical thoughts are things like, I was foolish, I'm a terrible person, and so on. While you are remembering your mistake, if you happen to think negative thoughts, remind yourself, this is just a thought. It is nothing more. It is not the truth. It is not reality. It is just a thought. And so I shall recap the process up to now, just to clarify. We are mindful breathing in order to keep the mind calm and clear. We bring to mind one mistake that we have made in our lives. We notice if we experience any type of negative thoughts or self-criticism. And if we do, we say to ourselves, this is just a thought, nothing more. Remembering that a thought is not reality, not the truth, just a thought. continue to do that for just a moment. Now, we want to understand compassionately the human elements that made us make this mistake. Consider that you are just a human being. Consider the challenges that you were facing when you made this mistake. For instance, perhaps it occurred during a time of stress. Perhaps there was too much going on at the time and that affected your decision making. And so what we are doing is we are understanding the human elements that led us to make this mistake. We are recognizing that it wasn't because we're stupid or because we're bad people. It was simply because we had human challenges going on and there were circumstances that led to us underperforming or taking the wrong action. And now finally, think of a few things you could say to yourself that would be more compassionate, things that would be more loving and more accepting. For instance, perhaps you could have said to yourself, I tried my best, but things simply didn't work out as I intended. Or you could think, I understand how I made this mistake, given the amount of busyness and stress that I was under at the time. I'll briefly recap this entire process and then we will practice with a few different memories. We are focusing on the breath and using the breath as an anchor to keep the mind calm. We bring to mind one mistake that we have made because this enables us to access that self-critical state of mind. We notice if we experience negative thoughts, and if we do, we remind ourselves that it is just a thought. We then understand the human elements that went into us making the mistake, so we can understand how it happened. And then, finally, we can think of a few nicer things, more compassionate things to say to ourselves. Let us return to observing the breath for just a moment, and then we shall get back into our self-criticism meditation. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Simply observing the breath moving around the body, noticing if the mind wanders, and if it does, just gently guiding the mind back to the breath. And now let us go ahead and bring one of the mistakes that we've made in our lives to mind. Remember a mistake that you have made. Notice if you experience any critical thinking, any negative, judgmental thoughts about yourself. If you do, remind yourself, this is just a thought and nothing more. Now consider the human elements that went into making your mistake. Perhaps it was during a time when you were extremely tired, perhaps you were stressed, perhaps there were other influences that led you to make this mistake. And so You are understanding the human elements that went into your mistake. You're understanding that no, you didn't do it because you're a bad person. No, you didn't do it because you're stupid. You made the mistake because of human elements, basic human experience that caused you to do something incorrectly. And now finally, say a few lines to yourself that would be a better way to speak to yourself than self-criticism. For instance, I can understand, given the circumstances, how I made this mistake. Or, given the amount of stress in my life, I can understand how I made the wrong decision, and so on. And now let us take a couple more breaths mindfully, and we shall do one more example. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And now let us go ahead and bring one more mistake to mind. Simply remember one mistake that you have made in your life. Again, notice if you experience any judgmental or self-critical thoughts. And if you do, remind yourself that they are just thoughts, nothing more. They are not the reality, they are not the truth, they are just a thought. And now consider the circumstances of that time when you made the mistake. Consider what challenges you had going on in your life. Consider what influences there were going on. Understand that the mistake that you made was not done in evil. The mistake that you made was done based on the challenges of your human experience. And now finally, say a few lines to yourself that are more positive and more compassionate, such as, I understand how I made this mistake. My intentions were good, so things simply didn't turn out how I wanted, and so on. And that is the process for using meditation to stop self-criticism. It's about observing those negative self-critical thoughts in the mind, remembering that they are just thoughts, and then creating a more compassionate perspective, understanding that there were human challenges and human circumstances that went into making our mistake, and then thinking of better ways to speak to yourself. And that is how to use meditation to overcome self-criticism. I hope you have enjoyed this meditation session. I'll post the script and the full article on thedailymeditation.com. I invite you to subscribe and to like this video, and I thank you for joining me. See you next time.